Hey, how's it going there, folks? Welcome back here to a Monday. It is the Earth Master here on this end, April 15th, 2024, about 9:04 a.m. here, California time. Latest activity here on the Earthquake 3D globe shows a 1.1 into the region of Alaska. Looking at the west coast here, we do have a little bit of movement stirring up here as well off the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. A little small microquake or two around this area today. Kind of watching that, I get a little, my antennas kind of pop up a little bit here when I see any movement just off of this section here to the east. This is on the North American side of the plate boundary. Of course, the San Andreas Fault here in the dark red line. So a little bit of activity stirring up there today. Nothing big, but still keeping an eye on that. The Bay Area of California as well, seeing a little bit of microquake movement overnight. Looks like we did see a little bit of movement up here on the Mendocino Fault here, just outside the Mendocino Fault, with a small earthquake, 3.1 coming in about 2 o'clock local time here in California. A quick look at the rest of the model out here shows not a whole lot going on, aside from some movement out there in Texas from yesterday, a little bit today. Things are fairly quiet across the board here. If we look at the Yellowstone overview, that's going to be the Yellowstone supervolcano overview of seismographs, show pretty quiet conditions out here as well. We did see one little earthquake yesterday. That's going to be this little spike here showing up on the map. We're on the graph, but aside from that, really not a whole lot happening there. Let's see what else we got here across the globe. Looks a little empty out here today. They did see another 5.4 in the area of Papua New Guinea. Of course, this region did see that 6.5 here yesterday. Not for sure why it's off the Earthquake 3D globe here. Let me see. Sometimes the time gets turned down automatically. I'm not for sure why, but that should be it right there. I try to keep the last 24 hours of earthquake activity here on the globe. That way we can see what's going on. But yeah, they did see a little aftershock, 5.4 in that area. Today's seismic gap zone in terms of quiet activity remains roughly about Papua New Guinea eastward here along this plate boundary. Now, we have seen quite a bit of deep movement here over the last couple weeks, still lacking some adjustment here across this little section of the plate boundary. That includes the Solomon Islands area and the Vanuatu region. We did see a little bit of deep activity here into the Philippine Trench overnight. Look at that super deep earthquake here. The ring raised well off the globe. USGS not picking up on that, but it looks like a handful of earthquakes in there. I don't know if it's going to be this 4.3. I believe that's going to be the deep one right here. Almost 500 kilometers deep there into the Philippine Trench. A handful of earthquakes also across the Java Trench, and some further movement happening down here across the Australia area with a couple twos. And of course, it's obvious that we've got some type of adjustment taking place here across this region, with New Zealand in the mix there as well, with quite a few threes stirring up around the South Island area. As far as the rest of the globe goes, minimal movement across the Mediterranean. A lot of this here from yesterday. Getting a little swarming going on here across the Azores, across this plate boundary, with a bunch of threes coming in, and Iceland seeing a little bit of uptick out here as well along the rift boundary. Let's see what's going on out here in Iceland. Make sure I got the most recent update. Shows about 32 earthquakes out here in the last 12 hours. There's some of that movement happening here across these rift zones. Looks like some upper twos here. Now, we had been getting a little bit of swarming out here across the Grindavik area, right around this region in the last day or so. Today, not showing any type of further movement in that area, but we'll continue to watch that. A lot of activity stirring up here across this lake area and the rift zones further to the northeast. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as well. A current live image here from the webcam live from Iceland still shows one lingering long duration fountaining event out here in this field, or in this area, I should say, outside the Grindavik area to the northeast. All other vents out here look like they are very quiet, but I still see a little bit of fountaining going on with the main one. No unusual activity to note at the surface levels. Far as adjustment goes underground, let me see what we got for inflation data here. Check out the Grindavik area. I know that's been an area of interest recently with the current earthquake swarm. So we're going to be looking at this one right about here. Still showing quite a bit of inflation here recently. I know we've seen a constant eruption there at the surface levels, outside of the Grindavik area. But still getting some decent land rise here across that region. Could spell a little bit of trouble in this area at a future date. Definitely have to keep an eye on that. As far as any other eruption activity notes here across the region, it looks like their last update was put out today. The eruption at this region here, that's around the craters area, remained constant. The eruption that began back on March 16th remains constant, so we're coming up on a month right now. Land rise continues at a similar pace, since the beginning of April. So that looks like that's about the time when these two smaller craters went quiet, resulting in only one active area out here, one crater or one lava dome here. So it looks like there's some inflation going on underneath the area. Just after noon yesterday, a series of small earthquakes began at Lagafell, just northwest of Grindavik. It was mostly finished around 4:30 yesterday. There were about 90 tremors, and the activity was greatest between 13 and 14 when 35 earthquakes were measured. All the earthquakes were under magnitude 1, and most of them were about 2 to 4 kilometers deep. This series of small earthquakes probably the result of tension changes in the Earth's crust due to the ongoing landslide, the ongoing inflation, they should say, in the Savartsingi area, as discussed in yesterday's news update. So here's that location of the, it looks a little blurry on my side. I'm not for sure why. Kind of messed with my eyes a little bit here, but there's a location of those earthquakes, somewhat deep. We'll definitely have to watch that. They're claiming here that this is just purely tectonic stress out here, but this is a whole rift zone. This whole area is a rift zone out here, and that could spell, maybe some activity stirring up here soon across this area to the south where Grindavik is. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on that, right? All right, looking elsewhere, out and about. South America, pretty quiet. Middle America Trench, handful of earthquakes. Puerto Rico Trench, not really seeing too much activity here today. Some of that from yesterday. Aside from that, we'll keep an eye on things today. A couple regions, of course, to watch is going to be right about here around the Solomon Islands, Vanuatu area for some larger movement. All right, what else we got? Let's go check out some space weather activity. See if these massive sunspots are doing anything. This is a current UV filter image showing quite a few sunspots out here. They are very large as far as the coverage goes. We'll check on the magnetogram image here. This is a combination, I guess, of two different sunspots. It's a massive area, but there's not a whole lot of super complexity here within this region. It takes up a good portion of the sun's area, but looking for some more dynamics in here before I get too excited about these regions. I think right up here, this area has got a decent chance of seeing some stronger flare activity, and this sunspot's separating, this sunspot's decaying. This one up here may be showing a little bit of complexity overall. I think we have a decent chance right now of seeing some stronger flaring from a couple of those sunspots. 99% chance for a C flare, M flare at 45, X flare around 5% chance or so. And a look at the last couple days of flaring activity shows a few M flares here. 1 to 2 M flares, 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 1 to 2 mostly in the last 24 hours, there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4 M flares. And overnight, a decent one as well. See where that is coming from. It's probably from those 2 active regions I just discussed here. More than likely from this area. We'll put this into motion, see what we got. Here's the 2 large regions coming around the eastern limb. Come on, what's going on? I know my internet's faster than that. I got well over a gigabyte speed. Not for sure what's going on, but maybe it's them. Let me pause it here. I feel like I'm back in the old days, waiting for the modem to fire up. A little bit of flaring from this region up here. There's a decent flare. See that? That's an M flare up here across this area. So a couple different M flares. Wow, see, that's the area up here to watch. That region I just showed you guys up here. That's been the culprit here of a couple different M flares here recently. Some longer duration M flares as well. So that is rotating into the Earth-directed view. We'll watch that here because anything that does blast off from there will be geo-effective here in a couple days, in a day or so. Really no major auroras in the forecast. In fact, that aurora forecast they did have with a G1 class storm for a couple nights there never really materialized out here. Nothing showed up. Not even a glancing blow of anything. So that completely missed us, unfortunately. But hopefully we can get things to kick back up here and maybe stir up some auroras in the future. We'll have to watch that. Quite a few sunspots out here today. Numbered quite... well, there's definitely a lot here. Some of these are beta and then alpha magnetic structure, but I think this one up here, 3639, is a little bit more complex than what they're stating right here. This shows a beta class. This was assigned yesterday, it looks like, but I think it's a little bit more complex than that right now. All right, moving on to the... Well, let's check out the asteroids here real quick. This is the latest updated information here on the next 5 asteroid approaches. I'm going to be doing this every day. Start off the update in the morning or afternoon, depending on when I start it. Looking at the, the close passage here of numerous asteroids over the next 24 hours, it looks like. And none of these pose any threat right now. There's a couple large ones out here, but they are a safe distance, over 3 million, or that's 2 million miles away. This is in km right now. So the closest one, yeah, there's really not a whole lot of close ones coming up right now, but we'll continue to watch that. Asteroids are, obviously a threat, and some of these pop in by surprise. So we'll have to see what happens here. Storm Prediction Center, that severe weather threat has shifted mainly up into Nebraska and Kansas up here with an enhanced risk. Now, they did include a 10% chance, 10% hatched area for strong tornadoes out here across Nebraska and Kansas. Your typical old-fashioned tornado alley regions. Grand Island, this area southward, that's a decent threat there for tornadoes. So if you're out there today, whether you're at work or taking the day off, taking the kids to school, keep your weather radio handy because this is kind of a big deal. Watch for some severe thunderstorms with tornadoes possible. Wind as well, could see some outflow, inflow winds from those thunderstorms, but the main threat, aside from that tornado threat, is going to be some very large hail taking place out here. Huge hatched area with a 30% probability. That includes Lincoln, Nebraska, Salina, Kansas. Yeah, that's could be a little dangerous out there. When you get those large baseballs falling out of the sky with some high winds, all it takes is just one of those to ruin someone's day. All right, looking at the numerical models out here, I'm going to zoom into the region here of south central U.S. here, Oklahoma, Nebraska. I want to see what they got here for the NAM models. See when these storms start firing up. It's going to be a late afternoon, early evening time frame. A lot of that low level moisture, though, could potentially fuel the storms up north, but inhibit the convection down south. It looks like, at least according to the NAM model. There's some of those storms. Big time hail threats here across Kansas and into Nebraska up there. Oklahoma has a chance of some severe weather, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen all that. It doesn't look like they have a large threat out here. Most of this severe weather today is probably going to be up into Kansas and Nebraska, where that low pressure is centered. But we'll see what happens here. This is just the NAM 3KM model. Definitely keep an eye on it, though. Again, this whole area, though, if you're out anywhere within this region that the Storm Prediction Center has set up, just take heed and be weather aware today. Pretty large area of the country out here that's covered for some severe weather today. And of course, that's going to be associated with that low pressure here, parked over eastern Colorado right now. That is going to scoot off to the northeast and pull up some of that moisture, as noted here on the GFS model. And doesn't look like they're all loaded yet. We'll wait for those to load. I'll cover the extended forecast a little bit later. Let's see here. Looking out into the forecast, into the future for the forecast from the Climate Prediction Center. Now, this is the 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook. Come towards the end of April, things look quite wet out here across this region. Also, it looks like a large portion of the country. Going to see a lot of unsettled conditions, a lot of storm potential. Weeks 3 to 4, that includes portions of May. Looks quite active out there across the south and into Southern California as well. So it's going to be an active pattern, I think, as we transition from an El Nino to I think we're at neutral right now, getting close to flipping over to the La Nina phase. A little bit of further activity here around this region. That tells me there's still quite a bit of pressure in here within this zone. But again, keep an eye roughly about this area eastward here along the plate boundary. It's been it hasn't been super quiet. Let me see what we got for the last 7 days here. But it's been quiet in terms of what other areas have seen. And normally this will catch up with the rest of the region. And there was only a handful of earthquakes here. 4.8, 5.8, and a 4.6 compared to a lot of activity on either side of it. We'll keep an eye on that area today, see what happens. All right, folks, real quick, we're doing the member drawing that's going to be held today, later this afternoon. Not for sure the exact time frame, but make sure you have the notification bell clicked here for this channel so you can get notified when we go live for the member drawing that's coming up here today. We'll be giving away prizes here to the members of this channel. All you got to do is make sure you're a member here, and you will be automatically entered into the Magic Fishbowl, which we will pick out a winner live later today. Prizes range from, if you want Earthmaster merchandise, a t-shirt, something like that, you're welcome to choose that. Or if you want an 11-piece geology mining kit, which is pretty cool, includes a lot of neat little nifty tools if you're a rock hound, or if you want a $50 certificate or MasterCard, gift card, that type of thing, that is an option as well. So make sure you jump on board, become a member, and we will pick out one today, later this afternoon. Not for sure what we're at as far as members go, but everyone will be included in there if you're a member here on this channel. We'll catch you guys back out here a little bit later on this evening, folks, or this afternoon, I should say, when I get the drawing going. Have a good day and enjoy your Monday. Stay safe out there around the Kansas and Nebraska area today for that severe weather threat later this afternoon. Take care.